Ethically Questionable is electrified by Polestar, the Swedish electric performance brand created to accelerate the shift to zero tailpipe emissions. Their approach to transparency means every car they sell has a carbon impact report so you can drive with a conscience. Hi guys, welcome back to Ethically Questionable. I'm your host, Jamila Brown, and this week I have, yet again, one of my most favorite people ever coming on the podcast. I know I say that every week, but it's true. And I also think, guys, I've been thinking about this. This is like the cheat code, right? Just hang out with people that you like. And if you don't like them, I don't know what that signal was, but what I mean to say is I've got another great guest for you, and it is Corinna Pyke, who is transparently one of my clients. We do work together, but she is the Managing Partnerships and Marketing Director for Sustainable Wine Solutions, which is a female founded, run, led business in East London, which started out as Borough Wines and Borough Market, so very cool foodie hotspot for those of y'all that don't know, in Southeast London about 20-ish years ago. They were doing like wine on tap from the barrel, French style, for Londoners. You could come in and like bring your bottle and like fill it up from the barrel, which was like very French, very like vineyard vibes. And then they have since pivoted that model to be more full scale, I suppose, doing it in theaters and restaurants and bars and venues around the UK. So not only are they, an incredible female founded business, but they are the only wine distributors in the UK that are delivering wine zero waste. I mean, phenomenal. So I had a really good time talking to Corinna about the business, about the future of the wine industry and the potential it has to reduce waste for our planet, but also like deliver like very delicious wine. And we also just talked about wine, which is, a phenomenal topic. I'm not going to lie. Who doesn't like to talk about wine? So without further ado, I will get us into the Polestar for a conversation with myself and Corinna on wine and circularity and what happens when you drink too many sulfites into the Polestar. Welcome to the Polestar, Corinna.
Thank you. What a pleasure.
I'm super excited to have you in here.
Super excited to be here.
You're obviously one of my favorite people. But also, I had a super interesting conversation in the car last week with my old boss, Martin Kuzmarski, who's like a big hospitality guy. And he was telling me, Jamila, nobody ever tells me about sustainable wine options. And I said, Martin, I literally have a client who's they're called Sustainable Wine Solutions. Yes. And that's your company.
It does what it says on the tin. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm very excited to have you here today so we can chat all about it.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, but first, before we get into it, tell me a bit about you, Corinna.
Well, I'm Corinna, and I am Marketing and Partnerships Director for Sustainable Wine Solutions, which actually is a really, really interesting job because it isn't just focused on wine. It's about partnerships and collaboration.
Yeah.
So I get to work with lots of really interesting people. And I have a background in music and arts and regeneration. So all of that sort of comes into play as well.
That's quite creative.
Yeah. And often with sustainability, the sort of like tipping point and the sort of early adopters come from a creative side as well. I really find that creative sectors are the first to sort of really run with that.
Yeah, well, they tend to be more progressive, I guess. Anyway, it's not even like politically, but just in terms of like ideas and innovation.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. It is political, really, in lots of ways around sustainability. It's about funding around green energy, about waste and all of these. It's not just a selfish act as well. I think a lot of, politics can be quite selfish and they're not thinking about the future, thinking about the now. And so I started, originally we were Borough Wines. So we started in Borough Market. And I started working with Borough Wines 15 years ago. And I joined first of all, I was a consultant, and then I joined as a sort of partner marketing director for Borough Wines. And at that time, we were purely retail. And we had about 7 shops in the end.
Wow.
Dotted around London, which was fantastic.
So you were selling bottles of wine to people, like the wine shop.
Yeah, it's a wine store. So we still have the Borough Market shop in Borough Market.
Very trendy.
Yeah, and our USP was always refill wine. And Muriel, the founder of Borough Wine, she's French, and she really wanted to bring that whole concept over to the UK. So she brought that to Borough Market, and it was actually what people absolutely loved. They loved coming in the shop. It reminded of their summer holidays in France. They're refilling their wine.
What would they refill it with? Like just a wine bottle?
Yeah, they'd either they buy the bottle and then they'd take it home, drink it, and wash it out and bring it back and refill it again. So it's completely circular as well. And so they'd refill it from the barrel in the shop. And the wine was really simple. It was a red and a white, and it's very simpler. It came from different countries, but it was quite a similar character each time. It was a nice dry white and a nice fruity red. And it was really simple. And I think what that did was change the way that people felt about wine shops a lot, because I'm not coming from a wine background. I found it quite inaccessible. I found it quite intimidating going into wine shops. And I think we broke down that. We had quite young staff, really informed staff that were really welcoming. We took away that sort of stuffiness and, dare I say, the old sort of guard of the Red Trouser Brigade, where,
the Red Trouser Brigade, guarding the red wine.
Yeah, and I think maybe not coming from a wine background. Muriel's the real wine person. She selects all the wines and still does today. And she had that side. And I, not coming from a wine background, I didn't really understand the rules around marketing and wines, and so I sort of like boldly went in and marketed as I would and engaged with the customer as I would if I was working in arts, music, or any product. So I think that's what was really successful. We were probably the first of those sort of hybrid shops as well, where you could have a glass of wine in the shop and you could just try lots of wines. People would come in and just refill and not have to ask a question and feel intimidated. And it was quite a game changer, I think, for wine stores in London.
I mean, I definitely, like, my first experiences of like wine were like in college in the States, or uni, I guess as you call it here. And I would go to these like mega liquor stores, basically, like huge, and they would have like a wine section, and I would basically just pick like whatever label I thought was prettiest and like what was in my brain. But there was definitely nobody at those stores that like knew anything about wine or could like tell me any different. So
I think that, I mean, this was pre-Brexit, so we had all these wonderful stuff from Europe, also from Australia
and winemaking countries, I guess.
And coming for their gap year and working with us. And they were young, they were really engaging, they were fun. They sort of changed the whole landscape of those shops when you walked in. So that was how Borough Wine started. And then just before lockdown, the retail was becoming quite a headache, to be really honest. You sort of end up a lot of HR. And high streets were really suffering. So we decided to pivot the business. Because we were asking more and more, and we're starting to do a little bit more B2B. So we pivoted a business just to B2B, and now we supply restaurants, bars, some retail as well, with refill kegs and a bottle return, which is great. So we can do a bit of both, really. So wine on tap and bottles.
Okay, amazing. So I understand why your business is called Sustainable Wine Solutions, because obviously you're providing these sustainable solutions to businesses. But what beyond the, I guess, delivery mechanism does sustainable wine mean? And like to like, you know, the general drinking public versus
the main
supply chain management.
I mean, obviously with the supply chain we go right back to the vineyards. So we look at how we audit all the vineyards that supply us. So we look at if they're organically certified, biodynamic, what they use on their vineyards as well. So there's a lot of work around that side.
What would they use?
Well, no pesticides.
Okay.
So and a lot of them. I mean, a lot of them are biodynamic now, which is a really interesting way. That's where it's like a lunar cycle. So they only plant at certain times, they prune at certain times. I think they have flower days where they don't. They just water and they don't really. Then they have other days where they can prune, other days they can harvest.
Can I ask, okay, why is that better? I mean, I love the idea of it, but it sounds a bit
It's a real holistic approach. Actually, it was developed by Rudolf Steiner. And his whole philosophy around the land and is really holistically
Who's Rudolf Steiner?
farming.
He sounds German.
Rudolf Steiner started the Steiner School education as well. So yeah, he's what would you call him?
Is he like a wine entrepreneur?
No. He's not. He's more of a sort of philosopher, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm into that.
Yeah.
Okay. But is that actually better for the planet? Sorry, I think I missed that part.
Yes.
Because it's not, I guess, not
It's
working against the natural ways
rhythm,
of like,
natural
rhythm.
rhythm. And and there's no, organic farming is, there's no, using natural,
no chemicals and all the pesticides and killing animals and the not animals, but pests as it were.
So there's that side of it. And
Yeah.
then obviously the way that we import wine is that we import it in bulk. So we bring over great big IBCs, thousands of litres of wine, and then we then put it into refill kegs and refill bottles. So we don't have any bottle waste. It's completely zero waste. It's completely circular. So when we're supplying a bar or restaurant, we deliver the wines, and then as we deliver, we collect the empties. So it's completely reverse logistics as well.
Okay, amazing.
So probably it's the only way that you can have a glass of wine that's not coming from a bottle.
I mean, that's pretty impressive. In the UK, I guess, at this point. Okay, I want to pick your brilliant brain some more on like wine itself, because I like to drink wine.
Okay.
I think a lot of people do. But I also don't want to fuck up the planet. So like if I am me, like in the shop, okay, first of all, can you get wine that is not fucked up the planet in a regular shop? Or do you need like a grocery market? Or do you really need to be looking at the more specialist wine shops to find those options?
There is a lot more alternative packaging. I suppose that's what you look for if you're really thinking of the bottle is a real problem.
The bottle's the problem.
The bottle's the problem.
Okay.
And that's why reusing a bottle is a really good solution. So that we can use a bottle, I mean, maybe up to like 20 times, as long as it's treated well. And we deliver in crates. They're put back in crates. They're then stripped down and washed.
Yeah.
And then sterilized and refilled again.
Okay. So you're saying if you're out shopping, it doesn't matter if you're like a Merlot from New Zealand or I mean, I don't know if you can get that or whatever. But the thing is like, don't go for the bottle.
Well, it's difficult because unless it's one of our bottles and we're the only people doing a refill, returnable bottle, but we do have retail spots that do that.
Yeah.
But there are other alternative packaging. Which is
box wine?
Yes, box wines, there's aluminium bottles and things, but they're all only recyclable.
Bottles. I've never even seen that.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of alternative packaging and pouches, but there's all recyclable.
What about like I see a lot now in the store. It's like tin cans of wine.
Yeah, but again, it's just recyclable. It's not. It's you can't refill those cans, so you're still creating a problem. There's still a waste. What we really need to move towards is zero waste. Whether we ever will completely, but that's. What work that we're doing around that is starting to make some really sort of serious headway. And as much as we've been banging this drum for quite a long time, and it hasn't really, I mean, it's been successful, but not to the point it is now. And that is really because of the economical impact that we now can offer. So if you think bottles, there's 65 million bottles thrown away a year in the UK. So that's a lot.
In the UK?
In the UK. 65 million? 650 million, sorry.
Even bigger.
Yeah. But, and then, so there's that side of it. And those bottles, only 50% of those are recycled. So where they're going to landfill is the thing.
In the ocean.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all. Now, on top of that, you also have 18 to 24 million bottles of wine literally thrown down the sink, the equivalent of that, because of wine waste. So if you open a bottle, it goes off. So hospitality, wasting so much money and wine. And then then you have the waste costs on top of that. So if you haven't got any bottle waste and you're not throwing away wine, and we actually now can offer a much better quality wine at entry level and +1, because we haven't got those extra costs of EPR tax, which is packaging tax that they put on glass bottles. They've also made it another £1,000 a year one pub will have to pay on waste removal. So it's having a real impact on hospitality, whereas this is actually a really great solution.
Are those sort of costs? I don't presume they're going to start coming to like us as individuals, though,
Well,
like in our homes,
well,
right? Like, I mean, our
yeah,
council tax goes
no,
up because of the increased recycling always.
no,
And
that they're actually putting those costs go onto the actual hospitality business. So the bars and the restaurants are having to pay more. And also the fact is, that, with everything that's happening with fuel and energy crisis, that's now impacting everything from the supply chain. So how wine bottles and everything's being moved around, but also actually glass itself is becoming very, very expensive to manufacture because of energy and the hiking of energy
that's a good
costs.
point.
So everything is sort of against the bottle at the moment
Mm.
in lots of ways. So us being able to offer a solution which is a really slightly better quality wine, because what lots of people are doing, I have lots of people complaining to me saying the wine that they used to have at their local was really quite good, but now it's awful. They don't know why. It's because hospitality are having to buy cheaper and cheaper wine to make their margins.
Oh.
So this is a problem because of all these additional costs.
Yeah.
So sort of bottle for bottle, we're probably around the same cost, but our quality of wine is much more superior.
Yeah. What are the impacts of the actual wine itself? Like, I totally understand what you're saying about like the bottle is like the biggest or one of the biggest issues. But is there like material difference on the like winemaking process itself and the vineyard? Like, I know you guys are looking at organic and biodynamic vineyards, but like, and I hear what you're saying on like, now pubs are having to get shittier wine essentially or cheaper wine.
Yeah.
Like, what in those manufacturing processes is making it cheap, and what are the sort of effects of the planet on that?
Effects on you. I think it has more sulfites in it. So sulfites are a salt that's added to the wines to stabilize it.
Yeah.
And so it's they add to make it last longer. They're putting a little bit more in.
Because it would go off.
Yeah, and organic wine tends not to have so many sulfites. It's naturally in the fermentation, it will produce its natural sulfites, but they add salt to preserve the wine and make it have a longer shelf life. So and stabilize it really. I mean, sulfites is a bit of a sort of organic wine tends to have less, which is always going to be better not to have any added. So there's a little bit, but actually there's more sulfites in dried fruit. So really, when people go, oh, I want low sulfite because it doesn't give me a headache, actually, really, it's the tannins and the histamines that give you the headache.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I've been using that line for years, Corinna.
I know.
I swear I told you the other day. I had a low sulfite wine. I didn't have a headache after.
No, it's a bit of a ruse, really. It's the histamine and the tannins. And I mean, it's overconsumption, really.
No comment.
If you drink
No
a bottle of
comment
wine,
on
you're
that.
going to have a headache. If you drink a couple. Yeah, I mean, I'd always go for organic and biodynamic wines and stuff because they tend not to add so much. And also the vegan wine is the other really big consideration.
So what is vegan? I mean, actually, I do kind of know this, right? At some point in the winemaking process, they have to like strain it, and they will use like, tell me if I'm right or wrong, fish scales or ox blood.
It's fish bladder.
Fish bladder,
actually, and eggs and milk proteins, and it's called finings, and it's where they put it is to clarify the wine. Basically, it takes out all the
like
clouds.
It sticks to the egg white or whatever.
Yeah, everything sticks to it and it clarifies it. But there are vegan alternatives. So I think they're using silica and pea protein, and that's developing.
Silica sounds like plastic.
Yeah, but it's not. It's a sort of like a cacti thing, isn't it? Silica.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think. I might be wrong. Please don't kill me.
No.
Don't shoot me.
No. Okay, so I mean, from an environmental standpoint, like your options are vegan, biodynamic, organic.
Yeah.
What about like older, like wines and vineyards? Like, I guess what I'm thinking are some of those like, long time chateaus and estates and things like that who have been making wine a certain way for 1,000 years or 200 years or something. Is there a lot of, I guess, environment and social impact expectation you can have when it's a brand like that? Like, I feel like they're really not stuck in their ways, but they're very...
And they're antique vines and stuff, so they're not really We don't really work with some of those wines because we work with quite young, fresh wines, which
Yeah.
was low intervention as we can have without it becoming volatile. Because our wine is quick to drink. That's what you want. You want something that can go into a keg and it's really lovely, sort of red, white, and rosé. You can drink it. It's not a wine to be laid in a cellar and to be open. It's not an investment wine and all of these things. Wine is bought for lots of different reasons, not just for drinking.
I feel like investment wine is a scam.
Well, people do invest a lot of money into wine and they sort of save. I mean, I really, save wines for special occasions and anniversaries. And they pride themselves on having this very rare bottle of wine. There's lots of different reasons that people buy and drink wines.
Can I ask you a question? Do they actually taste that much different?
No comment.
Okay. But I guess it's like the ritual of it or whatever.
And it's also everybody's, this is another, it's your taste.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that we really wanted to address with Borough Wines and around accessibility is that if you come in and say, actually, I really like sweet wine, there's no shame in that. Why are you suddenly not allowed to like sweet? There's some beautiful sauternes and lovely wines. And if that's what you like to drink, so be it.
Yeah.
And who are we to dictate, no, you must drink this very dry Chablis? No, actually, if you like a sweet wine, have a sweet wine. And here's the best we can offer you of that.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of that sort. So to be honest, I don't know what the most expensive wine I've ever tasted is, and I can't remember.
So you will have had it and kind of forgotten about it because it just wasn't that memorable.
Yeah, I mean, I think sort of I'm not striving to drink those really expensive wines. Really. I mean, they are. I mean, there's beautiful reds. I'm not a really big red drinker anyhow, because I find it makes me very tired. So those are really the ones that they really keep a long time as well, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
And lovely.
I guess I never really hear about 200-year-old white ones.
I guess there is. We have to get a wine expert for that, which I am not. I can just tell you a little bit about what because my role really is marketing and partnerships and communicating everything. We have a wonderful winemaker, Calvin, that does all our winemaking.
Oh, yeah.
And
Not Calvin.
Yeah, and then we also Muriel, obviously sourcing all these incredible wines in Europe, and then Amy has the Thirsty Birds brand, which is fantastic English wines that she produces under the Thirsty Bird label. Yeah. And Amy's our MD and is our operations magnificent person that does all the operations. So, it's
good team.
Yeah, really good team.
Yeah.
So, so we've all got different roles in the company.
Yeah.
So I think if we were really going to talk about deep diving into wine, we need to swap seats with Calvin.
We'll get him in next time for sure. Okay, cool. So let's talk more about how businesses can reduce their impact, because I have this belief when it comes to sustainability. I don't even know if it's a belief. I feel like it's just true that businesses have the most potential to shift culture and to promote positive impact, because one, they're doing things at scale. Two, they're influential, right? They can set culture. And three, they can normalize behavior, which I guess is also setting culture.
Yeah.
So I think obviously the shift to a more zero waste model when it comes to wine bottles in the restaurant, whether they're on a bottle return scheme or they're in a keg, is one big way. But are there other things that businesses can do to communicate some of these values and
I think
normalize it for consumers?
I mean, I think one thing is that you really listen to your customer. And what is your customer thinking about? Why are they choosing certain wines? And I think we've been through sort of the big food revolution in this country, where people really want to know about provenance around their food, shopping locally, all of these things, growing their own food, all of this. And that's now, I think, with the wine, the younger generation, they don't drink the same way as we all did, which is basically, I think we were so uneducated, you were just neck it, But, now the younger drinker is a little bit more discerning. I'd say a lot more discerning, actually. They want to know where the wine is from. Is it organic? Is it biodynamic? Obviously, they always want to know if it's vegan. So they are the ones that are buying the wine. So the more that you can actually be transparent about the wines that you're having on your list and have those wines that they want, they actually probably would be a little bit not adverse to spending a little bit more as well. I mean, you still need a really good house wine that people can drink and celebrate with. But I think, there is a real shift to people wanting a little bit more information about their wine. So I think it's about communication, really.
Yeah.
And saying why, and so there's the wines that you actually provide, but actually how you're providing that wine, and how the reason you have it on tap, and the reason that you have a bottle return is because you're trying to have less impact.
Yeah.
So that's one option.
Yeah. Do you think that potentially more regulation around wastage is needed?
I think it's really, really hard because hospitality has had such a bashing
Yeah.
for COVID and post-COVID and everything else, Brexit. It's all been this like perfect storm that has actually really crippled a lot of hospitality. So I think over-regulating and putting more sort of like costs onto this is actually going to sort of like it'll be the straw that broke the camel's back. So I think we've got to just sort of like try and offer alternatives that are cost saving. And I think that's the only way forward, is it going to make them, they're going to save money and the quality is going to be better.
Yeah.
I think it's better.
Yeah.
Because, you haven't, it's, or at least equitable. You've got to be equitable, I would say better, but it's not going to cost them more money and the quality is not going to be inferior.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's going to be cost saving. And I think that's the only way that you can start making some real headway.
Yeah.
Because people haven't got that space at the moment to make really sort of sustainable choices over finance.
That is so true, actually. I think it's one of the most perceived biggest barriers, but in reality, I think actually there are loads of examples and use cases where sustainability is like the better return on your investment, both in the short term and in the long term.
Yeah. So you've got the basic cost savings. Then you have we supply quite a lot of we supply the Oval, we supply theatres, and this is where speed of service is really, really important, especially on high intensity interval periods and things like that, or when there's a break. So the wine on tap is amazing.
Yeah.
It's really quick. It can serve it really quick.
Yeah.
So that's one advantage. You can and then also you can upsell if you're a slightly smaller venue, you've got more time to, talk to your customers, and you can say, listen, this is sustainable wines, this is, the food miles on this is lovely English wine, and the food miles are nothing on this. The impact is reduced so significantly, and it tastes fantastic, and it doesn't cost you any more than your regular, house wine or whatever they're selling. When we work with pubs, this is what we're finding. So it can really help, I think, sell more.
Yeah. I also think that there is maybe this like misconception from the hospitality industry or some parts of the hospitality industry that like you were kind of saying, kegged wine is maybe like an inferior quality or it's this or that. But actually, as I've been speaking to more and more people about what you guys do, I find that they're like, oh yeah, there's this like cool place in Brighton that I go to that has it. Or like they feel like it's actually like quite a fresh, new, exciting idea versus like one to be dubious about.
Yeah, and I it's obviously we've been battling this for a long time. You've got the legacy of sort of Stoll's wine poured at Wetherspoons,
I don't even know what that is.
From the tap. You've got that. But I mean, wine on tap has progressed so much, and the quality. And it's about, the fact is that when you stop pouring from the tap, it seals the keg. So you're not getting any waste wine, and it seals the quality as well. So as soon as you stop pulling, it's done. So that so that prolongs the life of the wine, and also for the hospitality, for the bar restaurant, they're not throwing anything away. And the quality remains really, really good. We supply quite a few really great places. We've got the Royal Opera House now. We also have a fantastic bar which is a good example of this. Is a bar in Bristol called Taps.
Oh yeah.
And it's got 12 of our wines on tap. It's a very cool small plates restaurant. It has a vinyl listing bar in there. It's just like, it's exactly the demographic you think that have embraced that whole concept of wine, and they love it. And it's a fantastic place. So there's more and more places popping up like that.
And I feel like, especially as things are getting like more expensive for like us, the people, the consumers, the punter, the hospitality goer,
like, for example, I went to, there's like this really cute like cheese and wine bar in my neighborhood. And I went there a few weeks ago, on my own with a book for like 2 hours. It was like the highlight of my year.
Bliss.
It was so good. And they had loads of wines there, and all of the ones that you um you could order by the glass. But I think it was so expensive by the glass because they're like, can't guarantee that it's gonna sell again. Do you know what I mean? And then that bottle is just kind of wasted. Whereas if it's potentially on tap and you don't have to maybe factor in the cost of wastage or spoilage or anything, it brings the price point down for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can try more wine, which is really exciting, but not too much. You don't have a headache. And I just think there's all these sort of like good knock-on benefits.
And, you've got places like Vagabond that use all the bottle. And
I don't really understand how they work because they have bottles.
But they're sealed, and but I think they go through so many bottles.
Yeah.
But this that it's a way of people being able to try lots of different wines is really quite exciting on a night out as well. Let me try something else.
Yeah,
try something different.
Yeah, and also I think the idea of like, oh, that's exit only.
1 minute, driver. Reverse.
And I also think there's lots of a lot of the work that I do is around sort of partnerships and collaborations. And the one thing with wine is that everybody drinks it.
Yeah, you're probably like everyone's favorite friend, right?
Yeah, but it's also,
Corinna brings you wine.
But it's also around sort of like initiatives. Like we've worked really closely with Julie's Bicycle, who work with the Arts Council, and then we work with Gallery Climate Coalition. I'm trying to start working with Green Rider, who are trying to address the waste around film sets and theatres. So this is where we can really make a difference. So they've got these initiatives, and actually we can help as part of their solution for what they're trying to achieve as well.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And it makes it, we're talking the same language, but we're actually collaborating together. We can make a difference.
I really like this idea, or this like drive that you always have of bringing back in the creative industries. You are also big culture setters, right?
Yeah.
And helping to work with them, collaborate with them to rethink how these sort of behaviors are expressed in society, right?
Yeah.
And just again, like, I hate to keep using the word normalized, but just making it like so standard that this is how we all behave and engage, that anything less is like almost shocking.
Yeah, it is. And there's so many people doing so many exciting things as well. And that it just like, let's all do this together.
Yeah.
So that's, and we use, you look, Massive Attack have just brought out an album. It's completely on recycled vinyl. I mean, this is amazing.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and this is if everybody's little bit makes a difference, and it's never we can't change the world entirely, but we can make a little bit of impact there. By us all working together on events and things like this, we can make this work.
And everybody owning. This is another big thing, I think. If everyone also just like figures out like what their lane is, and I'm not saying to never go out of it, but like, where's the one area where you have the most control over what's happening, and then you like drive that to its fullest potential, then the rest of the stuff you can collaborate with other people on, right? Like, so your thing is, we have the most ability to like get rid of bottles and hospitality, and I think it's really good that you don't stray into like all these other things, and maybe you're like, let's reel in the stores, or let's talk so much about like vegan and, all this stuff. Like, let's just focus on this one area, and then let all the other people who are really good at the organic stuff or at this stuff, come and be collaborators amongst
exactly.
it. Because once you try to do everything, you just don't go as far.
We have that. I mean, obviously, our wine list is really important. That we've got a good wine list, and
collaborative,
and we have all of these amazing wines for choice. Because if we only had 2 wines, we wouldn't be doing very well. So we've got a really great selection of wine. So we have English, we have organic, biodynamic, we have everything there.
Yeah.
And different price points, which is really important as well. So, we can work with lots of different types of businesses. It's about being flexible and agile as well.
Yeah.
I think agility is a really, really important word to use in this space. You've got to be agile, you've got to be able to move, and you've got to be able to work with people. And that's why I think the creative side is really important.
Yeah.
And you know that theatres and galleries, they use a lot of wine.
Yeah.
And we work with lots of artists as well with the labels. And that's we've
That's fun.
always done that. I mean, even when we did the refills with the costellatas for the customer with our shops, we always had artist labels and collaborations.
Yeah.
So that was always really fun
Yeah.
to do those.
The other thing I was thinking earlier about this idea that like people just won't like get it when it comes to kegged wine is that there's already like loads of instances where I go to a restaurant and I can buy a carafe.
Yeah, the carafes are great. And the carafes have come back a little bit back in fashion as well. It's a sort of 1970s
I feel like I see it
style.
everywhere.
Yeah, and it's, again,
And that's
it's a lovely way to have
Offer on a menu essentially.
Yeah, and it's for the bar and the restaurant, it's the most classic upselling trick in the world, because you go in and you'll have a couple come in and say, "Oh, should we have a bottle?" And they say, "Oh no, we shouldn't have a bottle. We'll just have a carafe." So the carafe is like 3 glasses, say, or 1.5 glasses each. They finish that and go, "Oh, we have another carafe," and they've ended up spending more money than they would have done just buying the bottle. And it's just one of those things. So it's an amazing way to upsell, because everybody's, "Oh no, we shouldn't have the bottle, should we? It is Tuesday." Oh, go on then, let's have another carafe.
So funny. Been there for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the like upside? If we continue to shift towards this like zero waste wine bottle world in hospitality. Like we've talked about the economic benefits, but like what does this look like in, let's say 10 years?
Well, I don't think you'll ever eradicate bottles completely, but I think we can reduce the amount of bottles in circulation.
Yeah.
It's quite significantly, and not just us. I mean, obviously we are sort of like the trailblazers of this at the moment, but I think it's going to become more and more prohibitive actually because of the costs, which is just going to load on the cost of the wine bottle.
Why? Can I ask a question? Why do vineyards, I don't want to say insist on using bottles, but like why are they clinging to it if it is such a challenge?
I think it's very difficult. I often, when I'm talking to customers and say, okay, why don't you just have a few on tap? Don't have the whole wine list, because it's a gradual thing. It's steeped in tradition. It's emotional. I mean, can you imagine having a wedding when you don't pop the champagne, or someone's graduation you don't pop the champagne? You need to. Whereas having it out of the tap isn't quite the same. Like we do a Frizzante. Cheers. People want to, winning something and popping the champagne, the boat race.
Can you recork a champagne bottle?
No.
Sure. I mean, not a champagne bottle, but like, is there a reusable?
No, there's one thing that's really difficult is because it's all about how the process and the pressure and everything.
And the process in the bottle.
Yeah. So that's why we're doing some. Excuse me. We're doing some. We've been doing some Charmat method English sparkling wine.
Okay.
Which is really in a keg. So we're developing that more and more. And so there's that side of it. So it's also people still, which is a reason that we started the bottle return, was that we work with Damien Barton from the Louisville Barton Chateau, and his sister, and they make some really incredible organic wines. And he's really, he's 5th generation or something. I might have got that wrong, Damien. If I have, I'm sorry. But he's progressive. He wants to change how they behave on their vineyards. They want to become more planet friendly, organic, whatever. And he was really keen for the end user to be something more sustainable. But he said, I don't know if I can really have my Bordeaux coming out of a tap at this stage. This is just during lockdown, so it's quite a few years ago. It does now, but at that time.
Oh, interesting that he then did make the shift.
Some of his wines, not all of them, but that's how we developed the bottle return, because we felt that he's right. People still want that bottle to have the cork pulled at the table. So I think that's why it'll take a lot longer. And there'll be some people who will never ever ever move over, but I think if your sort of house and your quick young wines that can consume quite quickly can shift over to that, that's going to have a significant impact.
Okay, very amazing. We've come to my favorite part of the show, which is where I give you some topics, and you have to tell me if you think that they are ethical or questionable.
Okay.
Okay, we've actually kind of covered some of them already, but let's do a quick fire round. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. A 200-pound bottle of wine, and by that I mean just expensive wine, ethical or questionable. Is it ever worth it?
I say questionable. But that's my personal taste. Someone else would disagree with me completely. I mean, I don't think I'd spend £200 on a pair of shoes.
Get a bit more use out of that potentially.
I said £200 on Akin in a second.
Yeah. Okay, all right. The label organic when it comes to wine. And I only ask this again because sometimes I think labels can be greenwashing. And is that the case in the wine?
Actually, they have to be certified organic. They have to go through a process. You can't stick organic on the wine. Particularly in Europe, they're very quite stringent about it. You have to go through a particular certification process at the vineyard to be organic.
Okay, so it's not like one of those buzzwords you can
No, you can't. You can't actually put it on a label. And I presume it must be the same in England as well.
Or do you know if there are any buzzwords that have been floating around the industry that you think maybe don't really mean as much as they purport to? Natural. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good one.
There's a lot of natural wines. What does natural actually mean? Because, they still have, there's no way they still have some sort of like a bit of intervention of some sort. Low intervention is something we all strive to, but you still have to, otherwise you'd be drinking vinegar, basically. I'm going to be slaughtered by the natural wine people.
Oh, bless. No, I'm sure that they'll do better and then get their proper certification. Okay. Champagne costing more than Prosecco. I'm so curious about your thoughts on this. Ethical or questionable? Is it just the name? Is it just the marketing? Or is it actually more valuable? Should it actually be more valuable? And I guess I mean that as well, in like champagne costing more than like English sparkling wine.
No,
because ultimately they're all
English sparkling wine. I think it's incredible, and I think it's but you can get incredible carvers as well.
Yeah,
so
that's like Spanish sparkling.
Yeah, that's Spanish sparkling wine, and you can get some really amazing proseccos that are not your sort of bog standard prosecco you get in all the stores. You can get some really amazing proseccos. So I just think it's about the quality. You can also get some really dud champagne. So it's about quality over the name. I think it's you need to look for quality as well.
Okay. Next one. I've put this on here. Oh, vegan wine. We kind of talked about this. Is vegan wine ethical?
Yes, I think it. I mean, most vegan wine will be organic. Most is.
Yeah.
And if they're going to that extent, so they're labeling it vegan because they're making those changes.
Yeah.
Then I think that's ethical.
And I guess they're doing it out of a respect for animals, and I think that's what most vegans. Yeah. Maybe that's how a lot of vegans get into it, is that they don't want to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite extreme using fish bladders, isn't it? So I think if you were a vegan, I think even me, I'm like, oh, really?
It's a bit gross. Yeah. I thought it was fish scales, which is also gross.
No, it's bladders and it's egg.
Where do you even get a fish bladder from? Like,
I don't know.
Anyways, whatever. Okay. Last one.
I didn't even know the fish had bladders.
Sulfites. Adding sulfites to wine. Ethical, questionable. They're not really the main problem, it seems like. They're a scapegoat.
Well, they're there because they stabilize the wines. I mean, I think if you can, or like I say, organic wine has less sulfites in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people put a lot of sulfites in to preserve the wine and make it last longer. So big factory wine makers and stuff, they will put a lot more sulfites in. So, you're very cheap supermarket wine will have quite a lot of sulfites.
If you look at the back of a wine label, will it tell you? I always see contain sulfites, but will it say like a percentage? And is that an indication of
no?
wine
It just says contains sulfites.
Okay.
I mean, we have to say contains sulfites on our wines if they do, because they all do a little bit. It's a natural part of the fermentation of sulfites, but they add more salts in to stabilize the wine. So that's it. And then with the finings, which is what we're talking about with the vegan wine, is
Yeah.
where they use that to clarify the wine and make it clearer and take away. But for sulfites, it's about, bacteria, keeping everything sort of clean.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
stopping the fermentation, all of those.
Yeah.
So it's difficult.
Yeah.
And like I say, there's more sulfites in dried fruit. So,
Ironic.
yeah.
Okay, well, look, I think I get and I understand that like switching to a zero waste or like a reusable distribution system in a hospitality setting is super impactful. I guess I just don't know how I then translate that to like, I get it to my life going out, but like if I want to have wine with my friends at home, it would be amazing if there was like a modern milkman style wine service.
Yeah, well, there are some. I mean, it's always quite complicated. I mean, it was really, when we had a lot more of the stores, that was what people loved it. They used to have their bottle and they could go out to dinner. They live in Battersea. That's their local shop, and they'd be going out to dinner in Hackney, and they top up their bottle before they arrive. So they'd arrive with cold wine straight from the tap at their.
There's all this great like BYOB places in
Yeah.
Shoreditch.
Yeah. And also round to people's houses.
Yeah, yeah.
People like, there's more and more people eating.
So much better than picking up one from like the off license. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
So there's that side of it. I mean, and we do supply more and more retail with the bottle return. So there is.
Do you?
Yeah.
I didn't actually know that.
Yeah. So we supply retail, and we do some shops. We're doing quite a lot with zero waste shops at one stage where they were having wine on tap as well, where people could refill exactly the same model as our shops.
Yeah.
Were. And places like Taps in Bristol, they offer a takeaway service of wine.
Oh, that's smart.
So that
God, I would love to have something like that in my neighborhood.
yeah. So if someone,
I would feel so smug about bringing it around to my
Yeah.
friend's office,
and I suppose if somebody has a retail, has a bar or restaurant, if they've got an off license to sell off license as well, they could offer that so that people could come and refill from there.
Good to know.
Yeah, as we go forward.
Okay. All right. So at the very end, we always ask people if they have one piece of advice for us on how we can keep having everything we want in our lives, in this case wine, without fucking up the planet. What's the one takeaway?
Reuse.
Reuse.
Reuse as much as you can.
And then boom, sorted.
Done.
Right, guys. So that was the episode with Corinna. I just absolutely adore her. My big takeaways, I think, from that episode were about the power, I think, that we as consumers have really to like demand more from the places that we visit, right? Like bars, restaurants, go up to them and say how much of your wine is on tap or is circular or is organic or biodynamic, right? The more that we, the consumer, ask for it, the more that businesses are going to include it on their menus, right? The other thing I think is like normalizing things that maybe have a reputation or a like preconceived idea about them. Like I'm not gonna lie, guys. I used to think that like wine in a box was like, oh, like you are an alcoholic or something if you've got wine in a box at your house or you don't care about quality. But actually, I think there are more and more brands who are thinking about alternative packaging, whether that's in a box, in a bag, in a tin, in an aluminum bottle, while still maintaining quality, right? Like at this point, it's about how do we serve the very best wine and product without fucking up the planet, my favorite topic, my favorite thing to do. So I would say challenge yourselves more, right? To think outside the box. Think outside the bottle, actually. And try some of these ulterior packaging solutions out, right? You might find something amazing. You might be able to tell all your friends, like, look at this amazing wine I found. Sure, it's not in a bottle. Maybe that seems weird at first, but I think once you kind of get past that, you find things that are really amazing quality, that are being thought of really innovatively, that are doing better for people and planet, and that still, I don't want to say get you drunk, but, let you have a nice evening decompression wine. Just one. All right, guys, so that's the show. Let us know what you think in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe and share these episodes with a friend, especially if you've got one that likes wine. And until then, we will see you next week. Thanks again for tuning into this week's episode of Ethically Questionable. For more info, thoughts, ideas, conversation starters, you can follow me, your host, Jamila, at Jamila Faye.